Guys, welcome to another video. I want to talk to you guys about the top 5 things you should never do in a turbo car. And number 5 straight away, we have got allow the engine to warm up. Now to do this, you want to make sure that you turn the engine on. For example, in my car behind us, again, it sits at 1200 revs when you first turn the ignition on. It then drops to around 900. And then once it's actually at a decent temperature, it then drops to 700. Now that is not a sure way of indicating of whether it is ready and whether it is warm. However, I do like to sit in my car for a minute until that rev drops, until I drive away, but I still don't boot the car at all. Now one way to find out whether the car is actually warmed up is you have to remember that coolant heats up faster than oil. So a lot of people have coolant temps and then they think it's ready to boot when the coolant reaches an optimum temperature. However, oil is a larger body which takes a lot more time for it to heat up, so you have to remember this. That's why a lot of people do get oil temperature gauges. So recap, remember, sit there, let your car warm up properly. Don't boot your car when it's on a cold start. This can cause some really big problems: cracked pistons, cracked engine block, and also a cracked turbo. So this is one I get often asked quite a bit, and basically never use low octane fuel. If you go to your local supermarkets and they do the V-Power and the super unleaded, this is what you want to be buying. This is a higher octane fuel. It is basically better for your car oil in general, so it will minimise blowing up the engine, as it allows the allows your engine to breathe properly whilst giving the most power possible as well. So my advice would be never buy low octane fuel, always go for your highest. It only works out an extra £3 or something for a full tank, but it's going to make the car life longer for you guys. Okay, so we've got number 3. This is low high PM and high load, and also known as lugging. Basically what happens is a lot of people will be in 5th or 6th, for example, and hit in 2000 RPM. A lot of people put their foot down expecting to go somewhere, but this actually causes bigger problems later on down the line. What actually happens is when you're putting your foot down, it's telling the engine that it needs more fuel and it's needing more oxygen, air, but however it's unable to drag more air in because you're not actually going at the correct speed for it to drag it in. So what happens is you end up with a lot of unburnt fuel in your exhaust, and this causes a lot of rich mixers. This is often a cause of pistons blowing up and such, and to avoid this you want to downshift gears so you are at a high RPM feed in your boost. So just make sure you don't put your foot down when you're not in boost. Find out where your car boosts. For example, mine in the background boosts at about 2,500. That's when it starts boosting up to about 5,200 RPM. Every single car is different. Maps change this and everything else, so the best way to actually figure out this out is to get it on a dyno and do it that way. So if you are to put your foot down, the best thing to do is go to a point where your turbo is boosting, starting to boost. When you do hear it boosting or feel that it's starting to boost, that's when you want to put your foot down. It gives a better response of power for you guys as well, and a better throttle response. Now just putting your foot down, people are expecting it to start going, but you have to remember that it does actually have to spool up. Right guys, so number 2, it's allow the engine to cool properly. A lot of people don't do this. They get to the destination and turn the key straight off. Now this is the worst thing you could possibly do for a few reasons. As soon as you turn your ignition off, this cuts off the oil supply. So this allows any oil to sit next to warm components such as turbos, etc. And what happens is when they're next to them components, like so far in the engine, as you know, everything's close by each other. What happens is it starts burning off the lighter oil in the oil that you've got in your system, and it starts leaving behind a thicker oil, which over time can be very, very bad for your engine. You will have to do a lot more frequent oil changes. However, some people don't do theirs as often as me. I do mine roughly every 5,000 miles. A lot of people leave it per year, so depending on your preferences there. engine to cool down properly, you want to just either sit there for a while and let it calm down naturally, or get yourself a turbo timer. This allows the fans to carry on kicking in to cool down the engine, because the turbo and everything can get really hot. So another way you can stop this is around 5 minutes before you finish in your journey, don't boot your car, just allow it to cool down naturally at its natural temperature. I know it is tempting when you get a turbo car, but yeah, don't do it. A lot of people think that when they get a turbo car, oh, it's fine, it doesn't need any care, but a turbo car needs a lot of care. And finally, number 1, this is quite important, and it's using the right oil for your car. For example, for petrol cars, you need to be using a thin oil, basically 0W over 30, or which is ever actually recommended for your car with the manufacturer's recommendation. Now, if you've had things changed on your car, for example, like you've got bigger turbos and bigger sorts, you may be using a different oil, but again, your tuner or anybody else will recommend a decent oil for you to use. The 0W for the oil represents a flow of the oil under low temperatures. So for example, when it's 0, it means it flows at the best that it possibly can for an oil. And then when the oil is warmed up to 100 degrees, it reduces the maximum viscosity grade, which is obviously what they use for the oil, of 30. So for example, 0W 30 means that it runs between the grade of 0-30. Once it's obviously reached its maximum temperature. For diesel turbo engines, it is usually a 5W over 30. However, again, check your manufacturer's recommendation. Having the right oil in the car will allow it to run correctly and minimise the risk of engine failure. So pistons, turbo seals going, all that sort of stuff. You don't want to be causing any more damage to your car than you need to be paying for, because when an engine goes on a turbo car, trust me, they go. So this is just my quick top 5 things that you shouldn't do in a turbo car. So let me know what you guys think, comment in the description, like, comment, subscribe, all that sort of stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one.